The spiritual anatomy of a Christian. 1. Man was a unique creation of God, set apart from the rest of His creation. Man alone was given a spirit through which he can know God.
This is kind of just to simplify how we look at ourselves. The circle inside of a circle is a way to give a visual help to look at us. Each of us has a spirit, a soul, and a body. And the difference between us and all of creation is the spirit. Humans alone have a spirit. Nothing else in this world has a spirit except for humans. And that's important because those that intentionally want to discredit God or ignorantly want to discredit God try to shorten the distance between humans and the rest of creation. They either got to lower humans down to the animal world or raise the animal world up to humans. This is one of the things we want to get across to the disciple, the new believer especially, is that draw the contrast between the way God created humans and the way God created every other creature in this physical world. We have a spirit, and we have a soul, and we have a body. Through the spirit that makes us unique as humans, we have God awareness. Through our soul, which is us, we have self-awareness. Some of the components of our soul would be personality, reasoning, emotions, mind, will, etc. And through the body, we have a world awareness. We have awareness of the physical world, and we interact with the physical world through our body senses. So each of us, we are conscious that we are alive, and that's the part of us that is conscious that we're alive is our soul. Here as a soul, God has given us the ability to interact with the spiritual through our spirit and interact with the physical through our bodies. Pretty clever of God, huh? As humans, we can interact with the spiritual, we can interact with the physical, and we need both. This sheet is simply to illustrate these three areas are not insignificant as we go through the scriptures, because in these three areas, each one functions differently. You are not just a spirit, you're not just a soul, and you're not just a body. God has put those all three together to function as one, and yet each one has its purpose. When a decision is made in the soul to receive the gift of salvation, the Holy Spirit comes and resides in the spirit. When a person makes a decision in the soul, that's where decisions are made, to receive the gift of salvation, the Holy Spirit comes and resides in our spirit. Before a person becomes a believer, the spirit, you could picture it like this room, darkness, turn off the lights, and that would be how our spirit is before we accept Christ. When we accepted Christ, God turned the lights on, and the Holy Spirit now resides in the believer, but He resides in the spirit. Just to be aware that the Holy Spirit resides in our spirit. Our spirit, from God's perspective, we are perfect. In other words, any believer that dies, the soul and the spirit go to be with God. The body is left here. That is separated. There's a separation that takes place. The sinful nature, it resides in our body, and that's why our body, together with the sinful nature, stays here. The soul, together with the Holy Spirit, goes to be with God. We call that death. Death simply meaning separation. As I mentioned, each one of the parts of us has a function. The spirit is where God dwells. The soul is me, and the body is the vessel that God has given us to function in a physical world. I kind of visualize it as me in the middle interacting in two different directions. Interacting on the one side with the spiritual, interacting on the other side with the physical. Through our physical bodies, we learn to live in the physical world. Through our spirits, we learn to walk with God in the spiritual. We learn to walk in the physical through our bodies. We learn to walk in the spiritual through our spirit. We're kind of in the middle here. God has given us a spirit to interact with the spirit, and He's given us a body to interact with the physical. Point 2, the entire animal kingdom is limited in scope without a spirit, and thus without an awareness of God. Animals do have no awareness or interaction with God. Now, God can use animals. He used an ass, gave voice to an ass there in the Old Testament, and He can use animals, but animals do not have an awareness of God as a human being.
Also, I think it's necessary for us to understand our difference from everything else on the earth. How we are different and why we are different.
Good.
Why we are gifted by God, where, your house pets aren't.
Good.
They're given by God, but they don't have the soul. They don't have the spirit that God gave us that sets us apart and makes us special.
I think this is a key issue, especially in our educational system, because people in the quote-unquote scientific world, people that consider themselves knowledgeable, try to equate animals and humans, just put us all in one trajectory. You either have to lift up the animal kingdom or lower the human to bring them together. To not recognize the difference between humans and animals is just really dishonest, because there is so much difference.